Hey darlings, today we're going to talk about mindset and how to think thoughts that will help you get to your goals. And basically how to challenge the thoughts that are keeping you from the goals. That's probably more accurate. So I've got some stories for you. I finished up my kind of rough draft or first draft or whatever you'd call it of my third book. And I was going to read it to my love, and I was very excited because I was like, there's this antagonist, and I was like excited about that they're going to be revealed at the end. And then also the main character, V, has to make this big decision, and he does, and I was proud of that decision. I was like, yeah, I really liked what I came up with for that. So I'm reading it to my love. I'm all like, just excited for him to hear how it all plays out. And we're up, probably later than we should be just to get it all done. And we get to the end, and I'm just like so excited to see what he has to say. I'm just like, yeah. And he's just kind of like, oh. And I was like, that's not helpful. That's not a good sign. And he was like, yeah, this one character you don't need, he doesn't make sense. You don't need him. And I was like, but yeah, you do. He's actually important. He has an important function. And my love was just like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't make sense. And I was like, but I can't, oh no, I can't get rid of him. And he was like, well, if you don't, you need to do more with him, like introduce him sooner. I don't know, but you need to do something. And I was like, okay, valid. Because I was like, I was reading through, I was like, oh, there's something I need to adjust about him. So I'm like, okay, valid, I'll figure it out. And he's like, oh, also, the antagonist, like, doesn't make sense. And I'm like, what? Like, I was so proud. And he's like, yeah, they don't make sense. And I was like, what? And I'm like, okay, I can probably figure something out with them too. Figure it out. Okay, not a big deal. And then he's like, yeah, and then this part is blah, 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 and then, oh yeah, you could do this, and oh, there's this thing, and it was just like thing after thing after thing after thing. So this is exactly what I want him to do. I want him to pick things apart and to tell me what doesn't make sense and what needs more work and what needs to be clarified and all of that. But it was a lot. Normally he's just like, yay, story time, is all excited. Or we finish a chapter and he's like, ooh, I want more. And I feel good and I feel buoyed and encouraged. And then he might have a little criticism or a little like whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, not a big deal. Cool beans, I'll fix that. But this was just like bad thing after bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. And so I started going to a like, oh no, this is just not good. He thinks it's bad. And my brain just started to kind of spiral. And I caught myself and I was like, whoa. Nope. Like, are these thoughts helpful? Because my thoughts were like, okay, it's so bad. I'm going to have to like cut it up into tiny bits and piece it back together so it makes sense. And it's going to be so hard. And it's going to be so much work. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. And also that it was just like a dumpster fire and it was awful and I was a terrible, like I just went to a really dark place and I haven't done this in a while. And so I had to be like, okay, are these thoughts helpful and are they true? And I was like, okay, they're not true because there are parts of the book that are still very good and very solid. And also these thoughts are definitely not helpful. No one wants to like work on something that's a dumpster fire, generally speaking. So I was like, okay, what can I think instead? So it's like, okay, there's a lot of parts that are good. And I freaking love a puzzle. I love figuring out a puzzle because I had an idea of the ending, but not exactly how it would work out. And then it came to me and I was so excited. And so I'm like, I get to have more of those opportunities. I get to like puzzle through and be like, ooh, how do I make this better? How do I make this character make sense? Like, where where else could I introduce them? Like, ooh, what can I do? And so I get to have that happy moment of like, voila, eureka, I've got it. And so that made me feel definitely better, and it made me feel more capable. So that was good. But then I decided to write a prologue to just give a little glimpse of the main character in a couple different headspaces and introduce a little bit of like, oh no, to the story. And a little bit of sexiness, because why the heck not? I'm apparently that author. That has sexiness right away. Anyway, so write my prologue. It's a couple days later, or maybe one day later, I don't know, soon, I get ready for story time with my love. And I'm like, I'm a little nervous actually, because I was like, last time he had so much to say, and it was all valid. But I'm like, oh, I'm kind of nervous. So I'm reading it, and like, pretty quickly he's like, oh, you said lifted weights, but it reads weight lifted. Like, you said the wrong thing from what you wrote. And I was like, oh, not a big deal. Like, I need to know that stuff so that I can be mindful to read it correctly, rather than just kind of like saying whatever my brain thinks is coming out next on the page. But I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little like about it, but it was fine. And then I'm, continue on. And then he's like, oh, this character, like, he's goading, I have a character named Michael, and he's like, this guy is goading Michael way too much. Like, he has this really weird, annoying, like, announcer voice, and he's just, like picking on Michael, and, like, what, like, why? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you haven't written that that's what he's doing, but the way you're narrating it, it's coming off in this way. And I was like, well, that's how it's supposed to come off. And then I was questioning myself, because I'm like, I thought I established their relationship in the second book. So that's Michael's book, and he has a dude that likes to goad him. This dude has more experience than Michael, and he's one of the few people that can do that and get away with it and not just get eviscerated. And so I was questioning, like, did I not set that up correctly in my second book? So I'm like, starting to go back into the, like, negative, spirally stuff. And then my brain was being really silly because I wasn't catching it as quickly this time. And so then I was like, my love hates my books and thinks they're terrible and just full of mistakes. And I was just getting, like, really weird. And then I thought I was combating those negative thoughts by being like, well, whatever, it's fine, I think they're good, and I think I'm a good narrator, and what I think is what matters, so I'm like, I was being like such a child and being so silly in my own head. And I can't remember what I said to him. Like, I was trying to find some way to get, like, a compliment, which it just sounds ridiculous, like I'm very embarrassed. And he just kind of got, like, I was just being so weird, and so he was kind of frustrated. And he's like, if I didn't believe in you, why would I let you buy a $180 mic? And then it just kind of made me go, oh. Because right now, like, I should not be spending money on anything. Like, I probably should not buy a microphone for, like, several months. But I did. I spent a long time trying to find, I think it's an AT2020 USB Plus, I want to say. Trying to find one. I think they're like $238 on Amazon right now. And I found a new one on Facebook Marketplace for $180. And I'm like, fingers are crossed, because the seller didn't have the best review. So we'll see. There's buyer protection, apparently, on it. So we'll see. But anyway, I had to be like, oh, I thought I was questioning my thoughts and being mindful about them, but I wasn't. Like, I was being so weird about it, so I had to be like, okay, we really need to take these crazy thoughts and just dissect them and see if they're true. And it's like, does he think that you're crap? Obviously not. He would not say, hey, buy this thing, if he didn't believe in you. And would he listen to you read 3 entire books out loud? You gotta think that these are like 8, 9, 10 hours each of reading, give or take. So, like upwards of like 30 hours of reading if he didn't believe in you and didn't enjoy them. And so that was kind of a wake-up call to be like, oh, yeah, I'm being ridiculous. But to still be kind to myself as well. And just like, hey, we as people tend to have really wacky thoughts. So the moral of the story is just really pay attention to what you're thinking and ask, is this true and is this helpful? Because maybe there is something that is a little bit true. Like, what if you're not the best at something and you know that, but being like, oh, I'm kind of crap at this, like, that doesn't help you. That's not a helpful thought, but to instead think like, ooh, I'm getting better and better every day, or whatever resonates with you. So question those thoughts. Pay attention. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we're on just such crazy autopilot. So that's what I have to say about that. And I hope you have a stupendous day. I put out videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Follow me on Instagram. I'm still figuring out Instagram. I don't know what to post. Yeah, like, subscribe. I don't know where I don't. Okay, bye.